Hello and welcome to Homicide Hobbies. I'm Andy,
And I'm Claire.
and we're here to talk about some of the disturbing things that go on in the world, past and present. We feel like not knowing doesn't mean the crazy doesn't exist.
So we're going to scar you with the knowing.
Enjoy.
What do you got for us today, Claire? Are we going to be in Texas like you done said?
No. But we're going to get all your state vibes going, and I'm going to give you your 3 clues. Are you ready?
Sure is.
This state's official animal is the grizzly bear, which feels less like a mascot and more like a warning.
Wyoming.
No. Your second clue. This state has decided I can't read.
A whole state decided you can't read?
Oh no, you know what? It is decided. I thought I read it as dedicated, but I said it right. I don't know how that worked out, but may the rest of this go smoother. But this state has decided that absolutely everything causes cancer, and they will legally notify you of that fact on every product you've ever touched.
California.
This state believes it has 4 seasons, but realistically, they're sunny, slightly less sunny, on fire, and traffic.
Still California.
You guessed right.
Woo! So it was Wyoming. They have grizzly bears in California?
Yes.
I did not know that.
You knew this.
When did I know this?
Went for Yosemite.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're headed to California. Before we get started, I'm going to tell you about a woman who should still be alive.
All right.
Well, that way you know not to make fun of her.
You know me.
Mm-hmm.
There ain't no guarantees on that.
Well, she's a nice lady. Her name is Sherri Rasmussen, and the time period we talk about her, she's going to be 29. But she's a nurse. She actually began college classes at 16. After her freshman year, she was accepted into a nursing program. Then she started working on her master's in nursing and will graduate in 1980 from UCLA. She's quickly promoted to head nurse of the UCLA's coronary care and observation unit, and even would give lectures in her free time to students, like at the school, not like she's going around lecturing the children.
What's her name?
Sherri.
Rasmussen?
Uh-huh.
I just did a case on a Terry Rasmussen.
Well, this is Sherri with an SH.
You made my brain glitch when you said the same their last name.
Was Terry a bad guy or a gal?
He was a serial killer.
Well, in California?
Uh-huh.
You know what, though? I've heard the last name Rasmussen a lot, because Dave has a friend that I'm fairly certain his last name's Rasmussen.
Are you sure you're not confusing it with Anastasia?
I knew you were going to do that. You're the one with the obsession with Anastasia.
Sure don't. I just like the little bat. Anyway, continue.
Well, anyway, by the time she hits her late 20s, she's really doing great. She's now the director of nursing at Glendale Adventist Medical Center. And by 84, she would meet a feller named John Ruetten at a party in June 1984. They would date, fall in love, and get hitched at the end of 1985. Sherri and John had settled into a small house in a quiet neighborhood in Los Angeles. They were living the dream. Everything about Sherri's life suggested stability, routine, forward momentum, until the morning of February 24th, 1986. That morning, Sherri didn't show up for work. At first, no one panicked. People run late. People oversleep. But as the hours passed and no one could reach her, people start getting concerned. Now, when John finds that one out, he's not really as concerned, because before he left for work, he was talking to Sherri, and she said she might call out because she had hurt her back during an aerobic workout the day before and wasn't sure she'd be going in.
It was her sciatica.
It was her back! But when he called the house, she doesn't answer, and he thinks that's weird.
So he's going to send a neighbor over to go check on her?
No. But then Sherri's sister would try to call, and she gets no answer, and that's like we're going beyond the morning. And then around noon, 2 men, believed to be the community gardeners, will give the neighbor a purse that they found outside, which happened to be Sherri's. And also, weirdly, the neighbors are going to notice that they left their garage door wide open, and that's around noon. Fast forward to the evening, when John gets home from work, he sees broken glass in the driveway and that Sherri's car is gone. So he rushes inside and finds Sherri laying on the floor. She'd been beaten and shot 3 times in the chest
Oh,
and was dead.
poor thing.
Police arrive and begin processing the scene, and almost immediately, investigators reach a conclusion. It looked like a burglary gone horribly wrong. There were signs of a struggle, furniture was knocked around, a bloody handprint next to the burglar alarm, panic button, a toppled over credenza, a broken vase. It looks like she gave up a really good fight.
Wouldn't it be put up a really good fight, not gave up?
Oh, fuck off, Andrea. The attack was violent. Sherri had defensive wounds, bruises to her face that looked like they came from the muzzle of a gun. It also looked like somebody had tied her up, but she fought hard. It looked as though someone used a quilted blanket to muffle the gunshot wounds, or muffle the gunshots. But the assumption was that it was random, an intruder, just an opportunistic crime. They were initially thinking that somebody was outside and they saw him leave and just assumed nobody was home, and then Sherri stumbled onto somebody coming into the house.
He hired people.
Because Sherri was not dressed for company, she was in her bathrobe, wearing her nightgown, and electronics were found in a stack at the base of the stairs, and it looked as though Sherri may have surprised an intruder who had thought no one was home. That, and her car being gone. Now that early conclusion shaped everything about this investigation.
Of course.
Sherri's husband, John, he was questioned. He did have an alibi. He had been at work. There's also no physical evidence tying him to the crime, and he fully cooperated. So police move on.
He did it. It's always the spouse.
Sherri's car was found 11 days later, abandoned on a street around 2 miles from her home. It was unlocked, the key still in the ignition. Investigators did find blood stains and fiber evidence in the car, along with 4 fingerprints that were not Sherri's or John's.
It's people he hired.
Around that time, a man was arrested during a burglary in progress not far from Sherri's house. Now, he was in the middle of taking a stereo and is going to become a prime suspect, but he was quickly ruled out based on nothing linking him to that scene. So that feller, I hope he changed his ways after that, because he almost went down for murder, and it ended up not being him.
He is lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because this is in the 80s and they didn't really have the DNA stuff.
Yeah.
He could have nearly spent the next decade in prison.
For sure.
Just waiting it out.
But Sherri's family never believed the burglary theory, because in their minds, nothing of value had been taken. You'd think if you went through the effort of killing somebody that you're really going to pilfer the house.
Mm-hmm.
But her jewelry was still there. I mean, other than the car, but they didn't even keep the car, so it didn't feel like a theft gone wrong. And they were convinced that one of John's old girlfriends must have done it out of jealousy.
What? Wait, this is her family that thinks that, or his family?
Her family.
Evidently,
a detective would tell Sherri's dad that he watched too much television.
Yeah. For sure.
And I was like, how messed up is that, though, to say that to him? His daughter's dead. He's just trying to help.
That's not helping. Let's take a better look at that there husband.
Well, the murder felt personal. Investigators did preserve an interesting piece of evidence, quietly and correctly. It was a small, critical piece of evidence. During the attack, the killer bit Sherri.
Oh.
That bite was located on Sherri's forearm. The bite broke skin, and because the attacker's mouth made contact with Sherri's body, the attacker's saliva was left behind.
She must have grabbed him by the nuts.
That saliva was collected, sealed, and preserved. But like you had pointed out, in the 80s, DNA technology wasn't advanced enough to identify anyone from it. So it was just kept with the hopes of, in the future, doing something with it. But without a clear suspect, the case is going to stall out. The file grew quiet. 8 months into the murder, still being unsolved, her family's going to offer a reward. Then months turn into years. Sherri's parents refused to let the case disappear. They wrote letters. They called the detectives. They had in there that it got to the point where detectives would put them on an indefinite hold and they'd eventually hang up, or they would hang up on them altogether of, we don't have anything. And I can't understand their frustration. They have nothing to go on.
Yeah.
And they keep calling and they've got nothing to tell them. But at the same time, I felt bad for the parents because they don't want her forgotten about either.
Yeah.
So they were frustrated. I mean, somebody's getting away with murder.
Right. They didn't have any kids, right?
She has a sister.
No. Sherri and her husband.
Oh, no. Sherri and her husband, no, they did not.
Good.
With the parents pushing, writing letters, calling to detectives, the case would be remained open, and occasionally someone new would take a look at it, then they'd file it again until forensic science finally catches up in the early 2000s.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Advances in DNA technology now made it possible to analyze evidence that had been unstable. Oh, I'm sorry. I can't read.
I got Darty out over here, so.
In the early 2000s, advances in DNA testing made it possible to analyze evidence that had once been unusable. And that's when we hit 2007 and criminalists start re-examining early case files for DNA. Now, the saliva they recovered from the bite on Sherri's forearm was tested. It produced a DNA profile, and investigators immediately noticed something unexpected. The DNA did not belong to a man, it belonged to a woman.
Oh.
That single fact quietly changed everything. Because you figure from the start, they assumed they were looking for a man.
So her dad was right.
So this lady looked at the file and saw in the case notes that there was a mention of a third-party female as coming by the victim's house and job before her death. So she's thinking maybe it's somebody from her work upset about her promotion or something like that. So she talks to the supervising detective to try to figure out who's this lady mentioned in this case? And also, was that woman ever investigated? And the supervising detective would respond, "Oh, you mean the LAPD detective?"
What?
And then explained that she was not a part of this, before insisting that it was a simple burglary. Basically, put it down, leave it alone. No other detective also would pursue it, and the evidence would go back into the file. Now, at that time of Sherri's murder, Stephanie at the time of Sherri's murder, Stephanie my God. At the time of Sherri's murder, Stephanie Lazarus was a Los Angeles police officer. Not a stranger, not a random intruder, but a cop. Stephanie Lazarus had previously been romantically involved with John.
Oh, that's disgusting.
The relationship had ended well before John met Sherri, but it ended badly, and Stephanie struggled with letting him go.
I don't care how good he throws the penis. It ain't that good that it's worth ruining your life and killing somebody else.
Now, they would talk to John, and he would say that he didn't really consider Stephanie to have ever been his girlfriend.
Of course not.
They had sex during college sometime between 1978 and 82, and saw each other like maybe 2-3 times a month. That they would go on trips together and hang out, but
hey, John, that's a girlfriend.
I did the same thing. I was like, darty-eyed, what is he to think a girlfriend is? But he just thought it was something casual of college-ness of, to me, that tells me he was sleeping around in college, that
Oh, yeah.
it wasn't exclusive to Stephanie. But their friends would say that she took their relationship way more seriously than he did.
Naturally.
He's going to graduate in 81 and get a job. Stephanie is going to go the route of becoming a police officer. They would go to his work Christmas party in 83, and I was like, what the fuck is with this guy? They were dating.
They were dating. He just sounds like, not to throw my boy under the bus, but like my boy that's in the military that doesn't want to put labels on things, so he's not tied down to anyone. But it's not to keeping the ladies, with apparently John or my boy, from being batshit.
Well, they attend that Christmas party together. There's even a picture of them as if they were a couple.
Because they were.
And then in 84, if you remember from me telling you before, that's when he meets Sherri and then gets all swoony. And I think it's because, not that Stephanie wasn't carving her own path, but this is a lady who had her shit together, and like, she was going places. She was driven. I think it's the first serious relationship he had outside of college, and he's getting to the point where he's ready to settle down. And unfortunately for Stephanie, he's viewed that relationship as just screwing around. She wasn't wifey material.
Can't turn a hoe into a housewife.
So Stephanie would be unaware that John started seeing anyone and throws him a surprise birthday party.
Oh.
And that
that sounds like he was dabbling both the ladies.
And that's where she gets to meet his new girlfriend, and talk about embarrassing that he
shows up.
and this is why surprises aren't good, because you throw somebody a surprise birthday party and then surprise, here's my girlfriend.
Yeah. All right.
But Stephanie and Sherri would meet. Then a month later, Stephanie would write in her journal, after hearing that the two were now engaged, that she was depressed after hearing about their engagement. I really don't feel like working. I found out that John is getting married. My concentration is at a -10.
You need to throw a few sniffles in there. Well, not to say I side with Crazy Pants over there, but it's got to do something to their brain holes of like they are in long-term relationship, even though he's not putting a label on it. And then the second he meets another chick,
Yeah,
he's
he's engaged.
Like, talk about a slap in the face.
Right, and she's invested time into this relationship, even though,
She's washed his dirty socks plenty of times.
Probably so. Now, later that night of her little journal entry, she would wake up her roommate, that was a fellow officer, and whine to him about it. The roommate would say that he never had seen her cry before then. And later that month, Stephanie would go to John's house just before he and Sherri moved in together. John would say that they did have sex that day.
No.
But it was to give Stephanie closure.
He's such a pig.
Naturally, he isn't going to tell Sherri about it, and it didn't help Stephanie let go of John. If anything, it made her cling to him even more, because I feel like because he opted to have sex, that for her, that's hope.
He's disgusting.
She would write to her mother, I'm truly in love with John, and the past year has really done tore me up. I wish it didn't end the way it did, and I don't think I'll ever understand his decision.
There you go.
Now, sometime in July, August, Stephanie takes her happy ass to Sherri's work wearing shorty shorts and a tank top. She lets Sherri know that her and John are still having sex, and that when their marriage fails, I'll be there to pick up the pieces.
Oh.
And Sherri merely says, your services won't be needed. Before leaving, Stephanie would say, if I can't have John, no one else will, including you.
Then she should have killed John, because since he's the one with the wandering pecker.
Now, Sherri didn't report this incident to security, but she did complain to her dad about it, and she'd also ask John when he got off work, what the fuck? That's when John does come clean about having sex with Stephanie, for her sake, and begs for her forgiveness. Mind you, he doesn't communicate anything to Stephanie about they're done for real. No more pickle tickling. And they patch things up and get hitched that November as planned. And for everyone in Stephanie's life, it seemed like she'd moved on. She started dating again. But in January, Stephanie pops back up at John and Sherri's house and asks him to wax her skis. And that's not a euphemism.
Oh.
Even though Sherri objects, John does it. Sherri felt the pop-in was weird and the request even weirder, and would ask John if the relationship was actually over, which John would swear that they're only friends, no hanky-panky. A few days later, Stephanie would come by and pick up her waxed skis. Then later that month, Sherri would find Stephanie in her living room after John had gone to work, in uniform, armed, and Sherri would tell her to get the fuck out of her house. And she would. Then a few weeks later, Sherri's found dead, and that's when the whole investigation starts. And in 1989, Stephanie and John would actually patch things up. I'm talking Stephanie. And go on a trip to Hawaii and have a casual sex-based relationship again.
Oh.
Meanwhile, Stephanie continues her LAPD career, working in DARE programs and background investigations on new recruits. Then it's not long before she makes detective. And in 1997, she'd get married to another fellow officer that she met during a DARE class. They even adopt a little girl. And she'd begin working as a police academy instructor and blah, blah, blah. Basically, she carries on, time ticks by. That brings us to 2008, when another homicide detective comes across the file. And mind you, in 2007, they had where that saliva was female, right? So a different detective comes across the file, and the more he's looking at it, he's like, this looks like there's plenty of information to solve this. So he really puts on them glasses and starts taking a peek at this case from top to bottom. Especially with the fact that the saliva that indicated the murderer was a female, a new set of eyes would certainly help. And then they look at the blood smears on the electronics that were stacked by the stairs, to which that told detectives that stack was after the murder, not initially like they assumed before, and that she stumbled on somebody loading up her shit.
Mm-hmm.
So then they develop a list of 5 female suspects.
5?
5. Well, they went from like anybody who wasn't her favorite person at work, or like anybody that could potentially have a beef.
I can only think of one person that would want to off me.
Well, you gotta think harder.
Fine, 2.
Well, they developed that 5 list of suspects. Mind you, at this point, Stephanie is a high-ranking detective working on art theft cases, and that she's one of 2 detectives in the nation that work art theft full-time. She's active in the community and participated in local child care things, organizing them for families of officers.
Is she still boinking John? No.
Because she got married.
That didn't seem to stop her.
Her husband was also a detective, so they would rank Stephanie at the bottom of their 5 list, and they'll start whittling away at that list, eliminating suspects one by one, quietly. Because mind you, it's a little difficult to investigate one of your own without, like,
Yeah. Was she part of the same? I know there's different sections of the police department, but was she with the police department that was actually doing the investigating into Sherri's murder?
She was still part of the LAPD.
That's gotta be a conflict of interest is somewhere in there.
Well, so she's in the art theft, like a commercial section, so she's not with the homicide detectives. So it's just like,
It doesn't matter. They still put her at the bottom of the list just because of who she was.
well, you would think the majority of police officers wouldn't be assumed,
No.
But so they're going to quietly work on that behind closed doors and referring to her as just suspect number 5. That way nothing got leaked to her. They would take a look at her personnel file and see that she purchased a backup weapon right around the time of Sherri's death, a .38 for her off-duty weapon. Now, that matched the murder weapon that was used on Sherri, or the type of weapon at least.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you know? 13 days after Sherri was killed, Stephanie reported that gun as stolen.
Oh.
Mighty convenient. That's where this case collapses inward. Stephanie didn't sit on the sidelines. She inserted herself into the investigation. She visited the crime scene. She spoke to the detectives who opted to omit details from the case file, like Sherri's dad mentioning the continued contact that Stephanie had with his daughter. She presented herself as a concerned acquaintance, and because she wore a badge, no one questioned her presence. Suddenly, everything started to make sense. The lack of forced entry, the rage, the intensely personal nature of the attack. This wasn't a burglary. This was jealousy. This was an obsession.
Bitches be crazy.
Mm-hmm. The detectives inform their superiors and arrange a discreet collection of a discarded DNA sample, knowing they could do that without a warrant and avoid alerting Stephanie to their suspicions. And it matches the bite mark on Sherri.
Yeah, and you know what? Her little rage temper tantrum of sinking her chompers into her flesh, you can't explain that away. I bet you she could have explained away, like, maybe some sort of transfer DNA of sorts. She could try to explain that away. But a bite?
Mm-hmm.
Did you go in and just have you a snack on a dead body? Why is your mouth
Yeah, right.
You can't explain that away.
So now it's time to interview Stephanie. They'll tell her that they're just trying to tie up loose ends in a case. So they'll take her into an interrogation room, and mind you, there's no guns allowed in there. So she has to check hers, and then they go in there for a chitty chat. And then they kind of dance around things, just ask what she was doing. But you've seen plenty of those interrogations to get her comfortable, just find out what she's been up to.
Nothing good.
And then for a while, she'll dance around like, I don't know, it's been a really long time. I don't remember.
To be fair, it was a real long time ago, but I don't know how you forget about committing a brutal murder of your ex non-boyfriend's wife.
But she'll deny everything. She even laughs at one point. She minimizes all the things. They ask her if she would be willing to provide a DNA sample, and she's like, Yeah, I might be willing to do that, but I gotta go talk to somebody real fast," and gets up to leave the room when she's promptly arrested. They get a search warrant for her house, and that's when they find her diaries. Now, over the 3 years waiting for trial, Stephanie's attorney would try to have the case thrown out, saying that the DNA test was not done with proven technology, and that was the only evidence they had, and that the bloody fingerprint on the stereo was never collected or photographed, but just mentioned in a report. But unfortunately for all of them, in 2012, she was convicted of first-degree murder.
Good.
She was sentenced to 27 years to life in prison.
That's it.
She tried to appeal her conviction, but it was upheld in 2015, and they were like, we're done with that. Sherri's parents will file a lawsuit against the city, the LAPD, and Stephanie, and in 2016, they pretty much threw out all the other stuff, but Stephanie is held liable for Sherri's death. Now, the criminalist that was told initially in 2007 that Stephanie had nothing to do with it and to move on with her work, she sues in 2013 the Department of Fair Employment and Housing, or under that thing, that she was pressured into not pursuing Stephanie earlier on, which I thought was pretty cool. I didn't know you could do that. And in the early 2020s, California passes a law that allows special parole for those incarcerated who are convicted of crimes when they were under 26. And Stephanie just barely fell under that umbrella. And in 2023, she went before the parole board, where she confessed to murdering Sherri. It makes me sick to this day that I took an oath to protect and serve people. And then I took Sherri Rasmussen's life from her, a nurse. She would go on to say that morning she'd gone to the couple's home expecting to hear John's voice, but instead found Sherri. And that's when she got angry. I got so angry that if she got in my way to see John, I was going to strangle her. Then she would go on to describe what sounded like a bar fight before tying Sherri up and shooting her. Then she got rid of the gun. John was unimpressed at her confession, saying that she's only made that confession to get parole. One of Sherri's nieces would say she had 23 years to lie and hide evidence and go on with her life when she could have turned herself in if she felt so bad.
Yeah. Which, by the way, you made me look her up, and the picture that popped up is...
She's crazy looking.
She looks like a freaking Fruit Loop.
She looks crazy.
The younger pictures of her, she's pretty.
Yeah.
Because I see the picture of Sherri also, because I was curious what
they look like.
Yeah.
Sherri is pretty. Stephanie was pretty also in her younger days, but when she got arrested, she looks psychotic.
Yeah. She also looks like she has no teeth.
I know. I don't know what happened with that.
She looks like she's got some meth teeth.
Maybe she had some sort of an injury. I don't know.
I don't know.
But Sherri was initially granted parole, but then I guess somebody did a whoopsie because then they withdrew that granted parole in 2024.
Can they do that?
They did. But
did she ever step out of prison, or?
It didn't look like it. It looked like they were doing the paperwork, and then for whatever reason, somebody was like, yeah, no. And then her next parole date isn't until 2028. And I bet you she gets it.
I think that she should have to serve a minimum, and this isn't just her. This is like anybody that gets away with it for any real chunk of time like she did. They should have to serve a minimum of that whole time that they were out keeping their fucking mouths shut.
Right.
And then also the rest of their time. And they shouldn't be allowed out until then. So if she was given, what did you say, 23 years?
27.
27. And how long was she off doing whatever? How many years?
23.
Yeah. So that should be her sentence.
Well, I thought that was wild. She planned that. She wouldn't leave this couple alone. And I feel like if she would have reported that threat to security, I wish she would have, not to blame her for not reporting things, but you never know what these crazies are going to do. And at least if you've got a paper trail of she made a threat against her, and then the fact that she actually killed her a couple months later is wild. I also thought it was absolutely psychotically crazy that just because she wore a badge, no one gave her another look.
Yeah.
They even, when it came back female, they weren't even interested in looking at it again.
I think it's because whoever saw that knew it was her.
Well,
she's probably boinking whoever that was.
Probably so. I also think it was most likely a case of I get it's hard to investigate one of your own kind of scenario, and then you're the piece of shit that's investigating another officer, so it's not just you investigating that officer, it's all the other people who know you're doing it, that then you become the enemy for everybody, you know, because it's one of your own. So I think that's why nobody wanted to touch it. But all I have to say is they're all fucking cowards. Because why would, if somebody's that crazy, I mean, it's just really sad. And I also thought it was horrifying how much, like, if they draw conclusions early on, how much that bias will steer a case.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, I realize in this day and age with DNA, they would now know that earlier on that it was a female and it would have changed things. But it just like, I hate these cases because it never feels like justice because she lived her life. Like she had a career. I guess there's a little bit of beauty in the fact that she had it all taken away.
Yeah, I guess. But she looked like she was one step away from having it removed anyway, because she looked like a freaking nut job.
Yeah.
Huh.
Well,
Sorry. You made me just read on the Wikipedia page about her, and it's it made me focus on it because it said the prosecutor said that Stephanie had tried to claim that her gun had fallen out of her fanny
oh
pack
God.
during the struggle.
Yeah.
What? First of all, who carries a gun in a fanny pack?
Well, 38, you know.
Okay, I say it again. Who carries a gun in a
It was the 80s too.
I know.
Everybody had a fanny pack.
I pictured her in the
The 80s workout attire.
yeah, with the full thong going straight up her ass. That's why she looks crazy. She wore too many of them for too many years.
Yeah, she's still tweezing that spandex out of her ass crack.
Wow. She's a nut.
Yeah. Her husband should feel like a piece of shit.
He should.
I realize he didn't kill her. However, if he would have kept it in his fucking pants, he wouldn't have strung along a lunatic for so long and this escalated. And he just didn't know how to end it. So, for anybody out there, having sex to give somebody closure, not a thing.
No, it's not.
If anything, it's widening the door. I hope he felt like a piece of shit that they went and had a fling in Hawaii
After
his wife was murdered by that lady.
did she have any kids? I mean, she lived long enough on the
Well, her and her husband adopted one.
she's probably one of them crazy ladies that probably tried to get pregnant, but she probably just couldn't.
Yeah.
Because I could totally see her.
The world had a kindness thrown out there.
Right, but I could have totally seen her try to get knocked up by John to lock him in. And ladies, and for the men that it applies to, if he's not that into you, move on. Don't go crazy.
Right. If he doesn't want to call you his girlfriend, like that should be a first indicator.
After years,
Yeah, quit clinging.
do better. You deserve better.
Right.
Know your worth.
Well, even after, like, I did feel bad for her for a short bit because when I saw, like, she threw the surprise birthday party and that's when she finds out he's got a girlfriend.
Yeah.
I'm surprised she didn't go ape shit then and, like, whoop his ass.
She's probably started doing her plotting. That's probably when she was trying to get pregnant.
I also didn't get why she showed up to Sherri's work dressed like a hoe.
I don't know. They don't even look similar.
No, I didn't think so either.
I mean,
which is probably why he fell so hard for Sherri. She was sane.
Stephanie had the typical 80s
yeah.
poof,
Yeah.
but she's a brunette, and Sherri's blonde with the 80s poof.
And she looked like a nice lady.
Yeah, she did.
She was really tall too, like 6 foot.
Who? Sherri or
Sherri?
That's why she was able to put up such a fight. How tall was John?
Well, I don't know.
I need to see a picture of him now. Sorry.
I don't know. I don't know that they would.
Oh, he's taller than her. There's a picture of them standing together and he's like 2 inches taller. Man, they would have had some giant children.
Mm-hmm. But I think that was also why they assumed it was a feller, because she was a fairly big lady. But then later, it's like well, that's why it was probably lasting so long, is because it was 2 girls fighting. A feller would have been able to subdue her.
And the bite, yeah.
Yeah, that's where somebody else said that men, where they can do the biting, that it's more of a lady thing.
I should have known better, because that one case I did, she bit his penis.
Yeah. Well, I just liked that you went hard for the husband and then you were like, "Gah." But that's Sherri.
I'm sorry, Sherri. You deserve better than your hoe of a husband. No offense to him, but I hope he's lived and learned.
Well, I don't know. He must have just been a real catch that nobody wanted to let him go, because there was an opportunity to send his ass packing before they were even married, that he was fucking around while they were engaged.
Yeah, I would have dropped the shit out of him.
Right. Like, that would have been the easiest time to ditch his ass. That, like, you want closure? This will be closure. Pack your shit.
Yeah.
Especially, she saw that crazy lady at her work, so that wasn't going to be like a thing. And I'm surprised her parents didn't try to talk her out of it more. But I guess if she's going to, I mean, people are going to make their own decisions. She really had a whole lot going for her. And I hope Stephanie never makes it out of jail, because she planned that shit. First-degree murder, you should not smell fresh air again.
No, you should have to smell the stinky twats of all the other women in prison.
For sure. For a very long time.
I just sent you some pictures of your people for this case. But
did you put it in a subject line so I can find it later?
No, because I was showing them to you right now, of the crazy lady. First of all, it's not even in there. I should have grabbed that picture. But, like, they were both pretty. I mean, when they were young.
Yeah.
But he looks like a dog, and I realize that's his wedding photo, and I realize I know the way this all turns out. But I can't believe she's 6 foot.
Yeah, I was surprised too. I just assume everybody's as short as me.
Yeah, or me. Wow. Well, thanks for that. That was a real sad one.
It really was.
Not that there's any that are like, oh, yay, that was a happy well, no. I like the ones where it's like...
Oh, if you weren't real good at the math, when they were married, and from when she was married, they were only married 3 months. That's one reason why they write off John as quickly as they do, because they're still in the honeymoon phase.
I feel like that's also bad police work, because if they had looked into it and saw that he had an affair right before they got married,
yeah,
they would have looked harder into the Stephanie chick, and they would have looked harder at him. And if anything, with as shoddy as their police work was, he's lucky that they didn't, because they probably would have assumed that he roped Stephanie into killing off his wife.
Well, that's what I was also surprised, that the second that she was on a suspects list and they find out that she went to Hawaii, that sounds like like they were in on it. I thought it was real sad that there was blood right near the panic button for their alarm.
Yeah, she made it nearly there.
She almost made it.
It's terrible.
Yeah, but that's Sherri.
Poor Sherri.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode of Homicide Hobbies. If we made you laugh, if we made you cry, or if we mind-fucked you for the day, then we thank you for listening. Please write a review on whatever you're listening to us on. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your coworkers. We're freaking awesome. And join us next week for another episode of Homicide Hobbies. I'm Andy.
And I'm Claire.
That's all we've got.